All right, shalom, and welcome to another Bible study that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. My name is Esaac ben Israel, and I'm the elder priest of the United Congregation of Israel. And I am joined here tonight with Mother Lael. Shalom.
Shalom, priest.
All right, and we're going to get into some questions here that we have been given. Now, one we got into last week. And we got so deep into the Seder part of it that I didn't finish the question. So I apologize for that. And the sister was saying that she apologized for if she had offended by saying, talking about the Seder. And it wasn't an offensive thing whatsoever. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with a word. It is the connection sometimes to how we are inadvertently giving credit and honor to other individuals. Like when somebody accuses us of anything that we say, we become anti-Semitic. You get so into trying to prove to these people that you're not anti-Semitic, you are then allowing them to proclaim that they are Semitic. And instead of you dealing with that, you start dealing with, these other things. And it's you have to notice the trickery. Like, first of all, if anybody noticed that they are rioting in Israel right now. All right. So and it's interesting how in some ways we'll look at something one way, and then when it's somebody else, it's looked at differently. And we talked about this, how when Gentiles, when the storms come and the Gentiles went and took stuff, they commandeered it. But when the storms happen, they call us looters, which basically says that you are illegal, and the other person is a hero. So the word play means something. So when Israel gets ready, and Netanyahu has been a gangster, okay? He has been, this ain't nothing new. He had to get back in charge or he was going to go to prison. And when you put it under those circumstances, you're going to do everything you can to win. And now he wants to do an overhaul of the government, but he had already said that before he got in power back again, all right, that he was going to completely overhaul the government. Now he starts, firing defense ministers. Anybody who opposes him, they're getting fired. They set up riots and blocked highways within hours of him making those actions, all right? And it's interesting when we proclaim that we have been mistreated. Understand, we're rioting because unarmed people have gotten shot. You understand that they are rioting and shut down highways because somebody got fired and they don't think that person should have got fired? I mean, the main interchange highway leading into Tel Aviv shut down. Ain't nobody going in, ain't nobody coming out because they don't like one action. Look at what all it takes for us. And then they still don't accept our demonstration. And all of this is about that one thing. And one of the things why, I'm very keen into how we deal with that. You have to also understand what's happening here. At the same point, now, Israel, and it's part of Netanyahu's cabinet, is proposing to make it illegal to talk about Christianity or the Bible in any other form than how they talk about it. You can be imprisoned. And I don't think people thinking about that. Now imagine you going somewhere and they ask you, what are you? Well, I'm such and such. Hey, we passed a guy over there teaching the Bible. And now you got to do a year in jail. I don't think we're thinking about that. Now, how foul is that? That Netanyahu, and it would be from his cabinet. I personally saw a documentary where he's talking to Christians, talking to them, getting them to send their money. Now, this is the same thing that other people were complaining about, that their money was being taken and they were not given fair representation. This is what Michael Jackson said. Exactly. This is what Kanye has said. This is what countless old school rappers have said this over and over, that their money has been taken by members of Israel and they were not given fair representation. Well, now it has happened to the Christian establishment, and I would like to offer you a big I told you so. Yeah, because they have been accepting Christians' money for decades. I mean, they have a whole foundation called the Christian Fellowship for the Jews, where your whole purpose is to give money to them. Now, and they were sponsoring trips to Israel and all of this. Now, you can get locked up if you say the wrong thing.
And that's in addition to what the government is supplying them with.
Exactly. So this extra money, the Christian money is extra money. The government has already given them money. So they're getting all of that money, and what do? Cut off your ability to have representation. This is the same thing that people have been complaining about. Now, what happened? When one of their members got fired, they didn't like not being able to have adequate representation. Isn't that interesting? So the very same thing that has been happening to all these other people, when it in turn happened to them, it was a problem and they rioted just like that. I'm talking about within hours. There were whole demonstrations. They just gathered, send out WhatsApp links, and everybody just stopped going to work, left, did what they had to do right on the spot. Now, in this country, if anybody does that, it's the young people. You got to think about something. That's serious when your grandmama was saying, I ain't going to bingo today. I'm saying, we're going to get out here on Aguilar Highway and I'm going to show them what I'm working with. Grandma, you serious? Grandma, you rioting? Go ahead.
But it's important what you talk about giving them, that we give them that power and we give them that recognition, while they deny us. Because when you use that word, Cedar, if you know what that is, it points directly back to the Talmud. And it goes into this writing that they wrote called Haggadah, where it gives you steps that are outlined, things that you're supposed to do, rituals, in other words.
There you go.
And it
That's
has nothing
the word.
to do with what's written in the canon.
Those are the things that we are unknowingly pushing when we say certain things. You're pushing rituals, not even knowing it. And that's where I ended up getting stuck. So I'm going to go back to the question. It says, can you please address uncleanness as it relates to the feast, especially since Passover is approaching? Under what condition is someone considered unclean? So we have to deal with what is written in the law. See, we end up getting stuck in two places. You have those who only read the Old Testament, so they're stern on the law. Then you have those who only read the New Testament and they don't believe in any law except tithing. So you have this thing, and then your boy Creflo come out and apologize 40 years later. I'm sorry, I've been teaching tithing wrong. I shouldn't have been teaching it about the law. I just shouldn't have done that. Well, get back the plane. Get a plane back. Get a plane back.
I know all the money.
Give it. He used the money to buy the plane. Get a plane back. Matter of fact, he was talking about how he deserved to have a plane, and used the tithe that he taught wrong to get it. Then turn around. But see, this is how everybody want to play when it comes down time for salvation. Now they want to act like they hadn't been about what they was about. Now is, well, I taught this wrong. No, man, you can't call yourself doctor and then come down 30, 40 years later and say, you know what, I made a mistake. No. You can't play smart and stupid. You got to pick one of them. You can't play, you got to pick. Now, Now, you can play smart and stupid on a different episode. But you can't play smart and stupid in the same setting. So if you're going to be stupid in this episode, then you can be smart in the next one. But when you teach one thing and you put doctor in front of your name, you cannot then claim ignorance 30 years later. It's not going to work. It may work for some people. It was never going to work for the Most High. Never going to work for him. So I want to start in Leviticus chapter 10 because it's one of those things. Not dealing with this is why a lot of even our people today, they like to go to little gatherings and little house shindigs because they want to go to places where there won't be any rules. See? And what people don't understand is everything has rules. Gangs got rules. Yes, sir. See, you go in the gang, you can't go in there and just like, I know we wear red, but I found out that I look dashing in blue. Guess what? You're going to be dashing down the street because they're going to be running behind you. All right? They got rules. You join the red gang, you're going to wear red. You join the blue gang, you're going to wear blue. I don't care how you look in blue, but that's what you're going to wear. All right? They got rules. Now, somehow, we come into the gospel and we think we can do it how we want to do it. And we think there are no rules. Yet, we can read in this New Testament where he says, I came in and found one without a wedding garment. And it says, cast him out to outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Wait a minute. Why would he do that? What? Wait a minute. He was governing by the garment? Whoa. So then there are rules in the New Testament then, huh? Because why would Christ, the one that everybody say love everybody, why would he be condemning somebody? Because they got on the wrong garment. See, it's a dress code. It's a spirit code. It's all kind of codes.
It's respect.
See?
It's a respect.
So, see, that's something that we got to understand. So we're going to have to deal with that all the way up. Leviticus chapter 10. And let's see. Do I want to start that at the front? Yeah, start at verse 1.
Verse 1. And Nadab and Abihu, the sons of Aaron, took either of them his censer, and put fire therein, and put incense thereon, and offered strange fire before Yahweh, which he commanded them not.
All it takes for it to be strange is him not to tell you to do it. Who gave you that? Well, I was ad-libbing. I saw incense, I saw matches. I said, you know what? Right. Go ahead.
And there went out fire from Yahweh, and devoured them, and they died before Yahweh. Then Moshe said unto Aaron, this is it that Yahweh spake, saying, I will be sanctified, I beg your pardon, in them that come nigh me.
So if you come near him, you gonna have to be sanctified, which means you gonna have to understand order. This is why people are driven away. Because they cannot be sanctified because they want to do it how they want to do it. And the closer you get to Yahweh, it's like walking closer to the sun. You know, it keep getting hotter, right? All right, well, you have to figure some things out to close. You heard many people talking about going to the moon. How many people you heard say, you know what, I'm going to go to the sun? Yeah, you ain't heard nobody talking about that, right? Right. Because the closer you get to it, the worse off you are. You got to figure out something. So you come close to Yahweh. Remember, he says, I'm a consuming fire. How you going to get close to a consuming fire and not have yourself together? Go ahead.
And you know what's important about this is that so-called word Seder means order, but it's just what you said. Instead of following the order of the canon, they have gone about to write their own rituals.
Set their own order.
So you definitely need to be careful in using those words and following those dictates, because they are definitely doing the same thing we read about in here.
But see, they slick. Who else but Lucifer would break a law and call it law? They name it the thing that they break it.
They name it order.
I said, now look at here.
While breaking it.
Right. Go ahead.
And where did I stop?
Verse 3.
And Aaron held his peace. And let me go back and read that. And then Moshe said unto Aaron, This is it that Yahweh spake, saying, I will be sanctified in them that come nigh me, and before all the people I will be glorified. And Aaron held his peace. And Moshe called Mishael and Eliphan, the sons of Uzziel, the uncle of Aaron, and said unto them, Come near, carry your brethren from before the sanctuary out of the camp. So they went near and carried them in their coats out of the camp, as Moshe had said. And Moshe said unto Aaron and unto Eleazar and unto Ithamar his sons, Uncover not your heads, neither rend your clothes.
So you understand what priests look like. He said, uncover not your heads. See, there's a certain order. You're going to get close to Yahweh. You have to understand some things. He said, look, I don't care you mourning. You got to think about what's happening right now. The order is so strong. He says, I know your close family member just died. You better not take the head covering off. Mm-hmm. See, you have a position. You're standing closer to me than they are. You better not uncover your head. Go ahead.
Uncover not your heads, neither rend your clothes, lest you die. And lest wrath come upon all the people. But let your brethren, the whole house of Israel, bewail the burning which Yahweh hath kindled.
You see how that order, he separated the mourning of the priests, and it's separated from the mourning of the people? Yeah, let them cry. Let them go ahead and rip their clothing. Let them take off whatever they got on their head. You better not do it. Go ahead.
And you shall not go out from the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, lest you die. For the anointing oil of Yahweh is upon you. And they did according to the word of Moshe. And Yahweh spake unto Aaron, saying, Do not drink wine, nor strong drink.
Stop. Now this is where they will stop right here in the New Testament.
Yeah.
You see that? The word says, do not drink wine or strong drink. Now they dancing. Now somebody done ran all the way across the sanctuary now. All right, now we're going to read this all the way. Do not drink wine nor strong drink. You nor your sons with you. When? Read that.
When you go into the tabernacle of the congregation, lest you die. And it shall be a statute forever throughout your generation.
Now, they got a job to do. They got some stuff that they supposed to be taking care of. He said, hey, you got a job. Go ahead.
And that you may put a difference between holy and unholy, and between unclean and clean. And that you may teach the children of Israel all the statutes which Yahweh has spoken unto them by the hand of Moshe. And Moshe spake unto Aaron, and unto Eleazar, and unto Ithamar, his sons that were left, Take the meat offering that remaineth of the offerings of Yahweh made by fire, and eat it without leaven besides the altar, for it is most holy. And you shall eat it in the holy place, because it is your due, and your sons' due, of the sacrifices of Yahweh made by fire, for so I am commanded. And the wave breast and heave shoulder shall you eat in a clean place, you and your sons and your daughters with you, for they be your due, and your sons' due, which are given out of the sacrifices of peace offerings of the children of Israel. The heave shoulder and the wave breast shall they bring with the offerings made by fire of the fat, to wave it for a wave offering before Yahweh. And it shall be thine and your sons' with you by a statute forever, as Yahweh hath commanded. And Moshe diligently sought the goat of the sin offering, and behold, it was burnt. And he was angry with Eleazar and Ithamar, the sons of Aaron, which were left alive.
All right,
saying,
so he's saying this stuff was supposed to be eating. This is an offering. You're supposed to consume this offering. Why did you not eat this? Go ahead.
Wherefore have you not eaten the sin offering in the holy place, seeing it is most holy? And Elohim hath given it to you, has given it you to bear the iniquity of the congregation, to make atonement for them before Yahweh. Behold, the blood of it was not brought in with the holy place. you should indeed have eaten it in the holy place as I commanded.
Now, pay attention to what's happening. He is being told that he was out of order. He did not do what he was supposed to do. Now, pay attention to his answer. Go ahead.
And Aaron said unto Moshe, Behold, this day have they offered their sin offering and their burnt offering before Yahweh, and such things have befallen me.
Such things have befallen me. Very, 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 very poetic way to say what he got to say. Go ahead.
And if I had eaten the sin offering today, should it have been accepted in the sight of Yahweh?
So he realized that I can't eat this unclean, or it won't be accepted for them. Now, think about the question. So you're talking about eating this. Wait a minute. The priest said he couldn't eat it because something befell him. Keep going.
And when Moshe heard that, he was content.
Check that out. Moshe told him, you broke this, you broke this, you broke this. Once he said, something has befallen me. Moshe, oh, okay. Check that out. So, was Moshe right? Yes. But was he right as well? Yes. See, situation and circumstance. So he knew not to eat that. All right, let's go to Leviticus chapter 15. So then we have to figure out what has befallen him. Leviticus 15, and let's start that at verse 1.
Verse 1. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe and to Aaron, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When any man hath a running issue out of his flesh, because of his issue he is unclean. And this shall be his uncleanness in his issue, whether his flesh run with his issue, or his flesh be stopped from his issue, it is his uncleanness. Every bed whereon he lieth that has an issue is unclean, and everything whereon he sitteth shall be unclean. And whosoever touches his bed shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until even. And he that sitteth on anything whereon he sat that has the issue shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even.
All right, so then he realized that he had some things happen with him, and that he should not eat this offering because of that. Now, this is why even the reason why our feasts, they start at night. Why? That is the beginning of our day. That's when it begins. So do you understand? This is the beginning. You have cleansed yourself before you arrive. This is the beginning of the day. And see, that's not how we think. We have been taught that when the sun come up, that's the new day. According to the book, everything began in darkness, not light. There was darkness. He said, let there be light. It began in darkness. So when that sun goes down, that's a new day. Guess what? You have done nothing unclean yet. And we better hurry up and do everything that we got to do. We better hurry up. Get on in there. Go ahead.
Verse 7. And he that touches the flesh of him that hath the issues shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. And if he that has the issue spit upon him that is clean, then he shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. And what saddle soever he rideth upon that has the issue shall be unclean.
Now, when you go into this letter of the law, it is an absolute wonderful thing that Yahweh has given us some liberties in the spirit of the law, because we couldn't follow this today if we wanted to. You go to a store, you don't know what, but and you go and buy something. And ain't no question asked. Excuse me, ma'am. Can I ask you a question? Right. Excuse me, brother. Did you engage?
Did something befall you last night?
Have anything befallen you? I just want to know. You might get to fighting before you get out that stuff. Yeah. Go ahead. He asked that question.
Verse 9. And what saddle soever he rideth upon that has the issue shall be unclean.
Whatever saddle. Wait now. We ride. Some of us ride public transportation. We rode MARTA because they told us it was smarter. So now I get on this. Now I get on this MARTA bus, and now I got excuse me, driver. Do you have the names and numbers of everybody who sat in this seat here? I need to call them and see if anything has befallen them.
They got the issue.
Right. Excuse me, can you describe your issue? I don't advise you to do that. Go ahead.
Verse 10. And whosoever touches anything that was under him shall be unclean until the even. And he that beareth any of those things shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the even.
Even is sundown. Okay? So understand when you become clean. You wash yourself in water, the sun comes down, you are clean. So the two of those things have to take place. So bathe in water, then the sun comes down, you are clean now. Now you understand why it would be very advantageous for us to do these things at night. Because imagine if the day started biblically the way the heathen do it in when the sun rises.
Right.
Now we done been out all day and we done said all manner of stuff out of our mouth. Somebody just cut you off on the road, and boy, them choice words came, and you even made up some words that he made. You son of a what? Wait a minute, those words don't even go together. And then you're gonna come and deal with Yahweh. Remember what he said? Go, I move my tabernacle. I move the holy. You know, I already separate the holy of holies, but I move this. You know, so get yourself together first. Then come and seek me out. He said, because if I leave this among you, I'm going to end up having to kill you. My power is going to devour you. So I need to separate this or sanctify this so that you get yourself together and then come and deal with me. So you have to, so as you start dealing with this question about what makes you unclean, you have to deal with this thing naturally, but then we have to deal with this thing spiritually. How many other things? Did we just jump from one thing to the other? I had to learn that there were times, especially when I first got in the Word, I'm dealing with Little League football, and it's all on Saturday, you know, and I was doing all this before I understood who I was. So then I'm trying to do both things, you know. I'm on Little League football this week, and then I'm on Sabbath this week. And then there came a time where it was like, okay, the game is real early. So I can go early on to this game and still make it to the Sabbath. I'm thinking, oh man, I'm doing good. The game was so horrible. At one point, I look up and everybody in the car. Now, we're now bringing that spirit, everybody in the car. I'm talking about grown-ups and children all have the same nasty disposition. And we on our way to serve our Elohim with a nasty disposition. Nobody talking, but everybody got a bad thought on their mind. And I just happen to look around and look at the car and look at all these faces. And I had to imagine mine. I said, you know, I know mine can't look too much better than y'all. So I said, look at this we can't do. This not fair to Yahweh. This not fair to Yahweh's house. And this is not fair to any other people who come to serve Yahweh. Because if we come there with that attitude, how quickly will we be set off? You know, I walk in the door, I'm already like, you know, punk referee, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, then somebody tell me, you know, shalom. What? Shalom, what? You know, so now, you know, with the frustration that happened over here, is it coming out on this, you know, undeserving individual who came to serve Yahweh, but I done brought all my problems in? just as unclean as something befallen you. Go ahead.
Right. In addition to, like we were talking before, being out amongst people that, you don't know what they're doing, where they've been, you out there and you with them, and then you go right into the house of the Most High along with that attitude. And so that was a real
And we
issue.
don't know we bring in the attitude.
We don't.
Because here's the problem. The attitude blends in the world.
Right.
All right? So it's normal there. And then you come from a place where it's normal, and then you start, putting out that same energy. And folks just sitting there looking at you. But it was normal. It's like getting used to, the cold, and then you come in where it's warm,
Right.
and you the only one sweating. Everybody looking at you like, man, he's sweating like TDJs. You know what I'm saying? Look at it. What's wrong with him? What's wrong with him? But see, you got used to a different temperature where you were. And now, when you enter into that different room, you brought that energy. Everybody else has gotten accustomed to the temperature and the light, the whole atmosphere that's in that room. You haven't gotten accustomed yet, but you don't know that. You still bringing that where you came from. Go ahead.
Verse 11. And whomsoever he touches that has the issue, and has not rinsed his hands in water, he shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the even. And the vessel of earth that he touches, which has the issue, shall be broken, and every vessel of wood shall be rinsed in water.
So when he's talking about a vessel of earth, we're talking about like clay, pots and pans and cups. You think you break a woman's bowl because, something happened, it's going to be some real problems going on in your house. Go ahead.
Clay is very porous.
So then all that stuff goes into it and stays in it. Go ahead.
Verse 13. And when he that has an issue is cleansed of his issue, then he shall number to himself 7 days for his cleansing, and wash his clothes, and bathe his flesh in running water, and shall be clean. And on the 8th day he shall take to him 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, and come before Yahweh unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and give them unto the priest. And the priest shall offer them, the one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering, and the priest shall make an atonement for him before Yahweh for his issue. And if any man's seed of copulation go out from him.
All right, so now we're probably getting into some more befallenness right here. The seed of copulation. Now, when it says his issue, this is anything that is proceeding out from him. This could be him being sick, all right? And I'm not going to talk about what kind of sickness, all right? But he can be, sick. And he's like, no, he can't come and deal with these things in that sickness, okay? Then you got seed of copulation. This is not sickness. Now what we're dealing with is a unused instrument of reproduction. And once you deal with that, and it doesn't matter whether it's the man or the woman, even though we have different instruments of reproduction, both of those instruments make you unclean. Go ahead.
And if any man's seed of copulation go out from him, then he shall wash all his flesh in water, and be unclean until the even. And every garment and every skin whereon is the seed of copulation shall be washed with water, and be unclean until the even.
So you see, when he becomes clean, he's unclean until even. Go ahead.
The woman also with whom man shall lie with seed of copulation, they shall both bathe themselves in water, and be unclean until the even. And if a woman have an issue, and her issue in her flesh be blood.
Now, understand something. It says, the woman, verse 18, the woman also with whom man shall lie with seed of copulation, they shall both bathe themselves in water and be unclean until even. So understand, in that union, there is absolutely nothing that proceeded from the woman that made that union unclean. It was what came from him that made that situation unclean. Absolutely nothing from her in that situation made any uncleanness. Now it's about to deal with the part that comes from her that causes uncleanness. Go ahead.
And if a woman have an issue, and her issue in her flesh be blood, she shall be put apart 7 days, and whosoever touch her shall be unclean until the even. And everything that she lieth upon in her separation shall be unclean. Everything also that she sitteth upon shall be unclean.
Now, we understand that we have to deal with this in the spirit, but you also have to also understand that, hey, we have to deal with certain things because of what we're going to be dealing with. Now, we know we can't go out and hold everybody in the world accountable to anything like that. We don't even know these types of things about situations that we are encountering. Go ahead.
Verse 21. And whoso toucheth her bed shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the even. And whosoever touches anything that she sat upon shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the even. And if it be on her bed or anything wherewith she sitteth, when he touches it, he shall be unclean until the even. And if any man...
And verse 23, and if it be on her bed, what is it?
The issue.
Exactly. See? So we have to understand what's that, or anything whereon she sitteth, when he touches it, he shall be unclean until the even. So it is his issue that proceeds out of him that makes both of them unclean, and it is her issue that proceeds from her that will make him or her unclean. Both of those are instruments of reproduction. When that egg is not fertilized, it then dies and then comes forth out of the woman. That seed is the seed of copulation, which is reproduction. Mm-hmm. It is not used, therefore that part unclean. So you still, a lot of times people say, well, you know, certain things are unfair, and you know, because when you start talking about this separation, this is when a woman separates herself from holy things. But we don't turn around and say, oh, you know, I can't touch you, I can't sit, you know, you can't sit next to me, you can't such and such. It is those holy things. But we have to understand, when you know that they are both connected to reproduction, one is not unfair. It is that the man has this for reproduction and the woman has that for reproduction. And they have to be separated when their instrument of reproduction is being dealt with. That's all that is. Go ahead.
And you know, it helped me to understand it when I came into the truth, when you realize that an unused instrument of reproduction, be it from the man or the woman, when it's not used, it dies. It dies. It's death.
Yep.
And so you're unclean.
Now, I got in trouble for this when I was first in the Word, because there was a guy who you know, he didn't, you know, he had some sickness in himself, and you know, he didn't, you know, often take care of himself all the time. So he would walk around sometime and his foot bled.
He had diabetes, didn't he?
Yeah, his foot bled on the floor. Oh man, I went to town. You know what I'm saying? I knew, you know what I'm saying, 3 scriptures, you know what I'm saying, and a verse and a half. Oh boy, I was out the top, was going in, bruh. And the elder like, Sock, calm down. I said, man, that dude bleeding over in here. We might as well have women in their cycle up in here. He was like, Sock, you done went too far. You done went too far.
No, he's still unclean though.
It is, but it ain't the same. And this is what, and see, this is the whole thing about having an elder who done it. He had to, first he had to calm me down, you know. You got to understand something. They shed the blood of animals and put it on the altar.
Mm-hmm. On the altar.
Wait a minute. See, this is what the old man had to tell me. No, that blood is death. that is something that has died, and the death is the blood that is being shed. Mm-hmm. That's not the same thing as sacrificial blood. Mm-hmm. Didn't consider. So all blood ain't the same. I did not know. Oh man, shit. So I done I went. Now first I was like this, and then he explained to me, and I was like, you know? I had to go sit down somewhere, you know. But he did. He told the dude, you gotta go to the doctor. You gotta get that fixed. You can't keep doing this.
Right.
But where I went with it wasn't right. Okay? But he still made the guy, you know, go and get himself, you know, checked out. He's like, no, you can't do that around here. So, you know, that, to your point, yeah, he still made him do that. But I made it on a level of blood is blood, and that wasn't the case, you know. So, you know, sometimes it's better to learn in quiet than, you know. Yeah, that was not a very fun time for me. Go ahead, keep reading.
Verse 26.
Yeah.
Is that where it's at? Every bed whereon she lieth all the days of her issue shall be unto her as the bed of her separation. And whatsoever she sitteth upon shall be unclean as the uncleanness of her separation.
All right, so then we got those two things then, right? Now I want you to go to Exodus chapter 19, because you have to then put this together in how Yahweh does things, okay? Exodus 19, and we're going to start this at verse 1.
In the 3rd month, when the children of Israel were gone forth out of the land of Egypt, the same day they came into the wilderness of Sinai.
So they get into the wilderness of Sinai in the 3rd month. Now, you're going to learn some numbers in dealing with Yahweh, and their sanctification comes in 3s. All right. So I also want to jump down. Go to verse 5.
Now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant, then you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine.
You shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people. See, people start saying, well, you know, y'all prejudiced, or y'all such and such. Now you have a problem, take it up with Yahweh. He says, if you walk in these things. See, now you have people who don't want to walk in them, but still think that they should be above all people. Wait a minute now. Wait a minute. What set you on high? You don't believe in walking in anything. Go ahead.
And you shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and an holy nation.
Wait a minute now. This is Old Testament. Now we can go to the New Testament and find that Peter end up saying the same thing. A kingdom of priests. Wait a minute. We got at this point. There's only one tribe of priests. Mm-hmm. He automatically said, "Oh no, it's not just going to be one tribe of priests. It's going to grow. Why? Because the rest of the earth has to hear the word of Yahweh. So." The Levites are the priests to Israel, but the rest of those tribes end up being priests to the rest of the nations. Go ahead.
Verse 7. And Moshe came and called for the elders of the people and laid before their faces all these words which Yahweh commanded him. And all the people answered together and said, all that Yahweh had spoken, we will do.
So we agreed to the covenant. We agreed all that you have said we will do. So here is the marriage vows. The vows were read unto us, and we said we do. Go ahead.
And Moshe returned the words of the people unto Yahweh. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, Lo, I come unto thee in a thick cloud, that the people may hear when I speak with thee, and believe thee forever. And Moshe told the words of the people unto Yahweh.
Now check this out. He says, and Yahweh said unto Moshe, I come unto you in a thick cloud, that the people may hear when I speak to you. So he says, I'm going to speak to you loud enough so that they know I'm talking. Because everybody always talking about, I talked to God last night. And God told me, he said, James? I said, yes, God. And it's interesting. The people who do absolutely nothing, don't follow nothing, don't believe in nothing, it's amazing how God always talking to them. So he said, no, I'm going to take care of this business. When I talk to you, everybody going to hear. So Yahweh said, I'm going to purposely be loud and obnoxious. They going to hear me. It's going to be a private conversation, but ain't going to be no privacy in it. Me and you going to be talking. Mountains going to be moving. You like, he talking regularly. Yes, Yahweh. And you say, man, why? Tell him to stop talking. The ground keep moving. No. I want them to know I'm talking to you. Mm-hmm. See? Because this is that kind of people. They going to doubt whether or not I talk to you. So I wonder, when all these people said God talked to him, who else heard him talk to you? It's amazing how you don't want to hear him talk to you. They could not hear him talk. Even in certain situations where in the New Testament, it says those people saw a light and they heard something, but they couldn't tell what it was. But then the person who he talking to heard the words. The other people just said, man, it got bright. And it was some strange sounds going on. Sound like a band or something, but trumpet. It was words. Mm-hmm. It was words in the horn. Now, I ain't never really heard, the horn words. Like, what you gonna boom out that now? What? Did the trumpet talk? So they didn't know what they heard, but they knew something was strange. See? Go ahead.
Verse 10. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, go unto the people and sanctify them today and tomorrow, and let them wash their clothes.
Wait a minute. So now we're talking about sanctification. Now he's talking about, all right, you need to have a certain level of cleanliness before you approach unto me. Sanctify yourselves. And what he said, today and tomorrow. For what? For that third day. Now, they didn't come in until the third month. So you have this sanctification coming in threes. So when you start talking about these things, we don't prepare. Like when people say they're going to have a gathering, did you sanctify your place? Or you just, you just call, whomever, however, anybody can come. You can come however you want, Did you do any of that? So you have to know the difference in those things. Sanctify. Then he said, wash your clothes. See, and we got all kind of excuses. Well, I don't have a Maytag anymore. You got hands, right? You got soap. You got hands. You got soap. You got a washing machine. Well, I ain't got no dryer. You got clothesline? Well, you got a dry. What the problem is? You got bathroom, you got shower rod? Well, you got a dry. Hang it up. What the problem is? Look, them were the best done clothes ever. When I went to the country and my grandma washed them things out and put them on the line. Hey, man, that stuff you be like, Grandma, what you put in here? What you talking about, boy? What you put in it? Why did it smell like that? Boy, that's air. And my mama used bounce, up in the city. She was like, you better bounce on there and get them clothes off that line. That's what you need to do. And I'm like, this stuff here, the sun itself is a purifier. It purifies. Mm-hmm. You sit this out here, you wash it, you sit it in the sun. The sun itself cleanses things. And we don't even think about, this enormous power that Yahweh has given us. But he required some things. You can't just come any old kind of way. Sanctify yourself against the third day. Keep reading. Verse 11. Read verse 11.
And be ready against the third day.
Be ready against the third day. Go ahead.
For the third day, Yahweh will come down in the sight of all the people upon Mount Sinai.
Right. So then you don't want to be unprepared when Yahweh shows up. Even when you talk about the whole part of the Passover, what did they have to do? There was some preparation. do all of these things, get this lamb, mark over your door with the blood of the lamb, and then go in your house and stay there. I don't care what you hear outside. See, and we seem to think, the death angel might have been, quiet. Hey man, ain't no telling what all they were hearing. When this destruction is coming through and people are crying because they watching people fall down. Mm-hmm. How many of us is like, I just want to peek out the window, you know what I'm saying? It's a good thing we ain't had no phone, because we would have been like, you know what, I ain't going out there, but yeah, I'm going to post this. we would have been trying to, and then we end up dead, because we doing something else. But that was some preparation that we had to do. It wasn't just, you partake in these things. And then we want to do things, and because we want to make it a festive occasion, we invite in everybody. I ask people, a real simple question. Who all did Yahshua have Passover with?
It's 12.
There you go. Why you didn't send invitations all around? Come ye, come ye, come. All come. It's for everybody. Mm-mm. That's not what he did. Mm-mm. See, he got some real spiritual things going on, and then people. This is why I tell people, when it comes down to keeping those feast days, this is not the time to bring your friend who just he like to hang out with you and say, what, man, it sounds pretty interesting. Nah, this ain't the day. You want to come on a regular day. You don't want to come on that. These are days that people have prepared themselves. You don't want to just show up on that day. At least you be the one that the devil used. Because you got to understand, if the devil walk in and he says, who am I going to use today? Who's this unclean joke over here? Yeah, let me ride him. Or let me ride her. So you have to consider that situation, because the adversary looks for whom he may use. Go ahead.
Verse 12. And you shall set bounds unto the people round about, saying, take heed to yourselves that you go not up into the mount, nor touch the border of it. Whosoever touches the mount shall be surely put to death. And there shall not an hand touch it, but he shall surely be stoned or shot through. Whether it be beast or man, it shall not live. When the trumpet sounded long, they shall come up to the mount.
Uh-huh.
And Moshe went down from the mount unto the people, and sanctified the people, and they washed their clothes. And he said unto the people, be ready against the third day. Come not at your wives.
Now he get real plain, because you know us. You know what I'm saying? We'll try to, make that something else. No. Be ready against the third day. Come not at your wives. Sanctify yourself before you deal with these holy things. So then we have this 3-day sanctification. Now I want to go to 1 Samuel chapter 21 so that we can see part of those things in action. And what are they about to do? They're going to partake in some holy things. But to do so, they got to be in a certain fashion. 1 Samuel chapter 21, and let's start that at verse 1.
Verse 1. Then came Dawid to Nob to Ahimelech the priest, and Ahimelech was afraid at the meeting of Dawid, and said unto him, why are you alone, and no man with you? And Dawid said unto Ahimelech the priest, the king has commanded me a business, and has said unto me, let no man know anything of the business whereabout I send you.
Now, he done lied to the priest. But he lied to the priest. His life is on the line. See, it's not just if you lie, why you lie. See, sometimes folk will lie for stuff they ain't got no business, nothing need to be lied about. The king trying to kill him. He don't even want to say that the king trying to kill him, because he don't know how the other people are going to take that when he say it. Go ahead.
And what I have commanded you, And I have appointed my servants to such and such a place. Now therefore, what is under thine hand? Give me 5 loaves of bread in my hand, or what there is present. And the priest answered David and said, There is no common bread under my hand, but there is hallowed bread, if the young men have kept themselves at least from women.
Wait a minute. So to eat this hallowed bread, they need to have been prepared themselves for some things. Now they not even this not even for them, but for them to even get this stuff that, and it is not on the same level as it is when the priests eat it. Now, understand. So when the priests eat it, it's up here. After a while, it comes down here. They still got to be sanctified 3 days to even eat that. Keep reading.
Verse 5. And David answered the priest and said unto him, Of a truth, women have been kept from us about these 3 days since I came out, and the vessels of the young men are holy, and the bread is in a manner common.
Wait a minute. What do you mean by that? The bread is in a manner common. We're going to read so that you understand what that is talking about. All right? But you automatically see that women have been kept from us about these 3 days. So you can read the law and say one thing. No, this is a very plain conversation. He's asking him, what you been doing? Mm-hmm. See, has anything befallen you? Go ahead.
And the bread is in a manner common, yea, though it were sanctified this day in the vessel.
Uh-huh.
So the priest gave him hallowed bread, for there was no bread there but the showbread that was taken from before Yahweh, to put hot bread in the day when it was taken away.
All right, now, this is your clue. So the priest gave him hallowed bread, for there was no bread there but the showbread that was taken from before Yahweh. So it was there first, but then it was taken, and then hot bread was put. Now, the hot bread is directly that part, none but the priest supposed to touch it. Now, this is still holy, but it ain't at the same level of this. This is the hot one. This is what was put there. So he's getting the leftover stuff from what the priests have. To do that, he still had to be sanctified. Go ahead.
Verse 7. Now a certain man of the servants of Saul was there that day, detained before Yahweh, and his name was Doeg.
Now, as far as I want to go with that. All right, let's go to Leviticus chapter 24. So that we understand this whole part about the bread was in a manner common. Okay? So David had to be sanctified, him and his men, 3 days without being with women to partake in the holy bread, even after the holy bread was made common. Because it ain't for them to start with. That's something you got to first understand. Leviticus chapter 24 and start at verse 5.
And you shall take fine flour and bake 12 cakes thereof. 2 tenth deals shall be in 1 cake. And you shall set them in 2 rows, 6 on a row, upon the pure table before Yahweh. And you shall put pure frankincense upon each row, that it may be on the bread for a memorial, even an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. Every Sabbath he shall set it in order before Yahweh continually, being taken from the children of Israel by an everlasting covenant. And it shall be Aaron's and his sons, and they shall eat it in the holy place, for it is most holy unto him of the offerings of Yahweh, made by fire by a perpetual statute.
Right. So then you understand what was taking place there from the law that was given in the beginning. This is the bread that David ended up, because at this point he's hungry. He is running for his life. He's asking, do you have any leftover weapons here? Do you have any, and this is strange. He's like, wait a minute, man, you the king, man. You got everything. You got all the weapons. You got all the food. Man, last time I heard that women just sing songs when you show up. Look, why are you here by yourself? Say it don't even feel right. So just understanding how that level of things went, you then get the thought process of how we're supposed to deal with things when we are entering into a holy gathering. See, we are sanctifying ourselves. First of all, we're doing that even on the night that we're doing something anyway. But when we go to make our appearance, we're making sure that we sanctified against the third day. Mm-hmm. Let's go to Matthew chapter 12. Matthew chapter 12, and we're going to start at verse 1.
At that time, Yeshua went on the Sabbath day through the corn, and his disciples were and hungered, and began to pluck the ears of corn and to eat.
The whole thing is they hungry. They're not shopping. See, we don't understand the difference. See, people say, now see, we'll use this out of context. See, we get caught, in Macy's, trying to get, some clothes. And people say, I thought you was a Hebrew. Why you in the store on the Sabbath? Did you not hear what Dawid did? What they got to do with you buying clothes from Macy's? He was hungry. You ain't hungry. You going to eat these jeans? Go ahead.
But when the Pharisees saw it, they said unto him, Behold, your disciples do that which is not lawful to do upon the Sabbath day. But he said unto them, Have you not read what Dawid did when he was hungry? And they that were with him.
Now, he's about to go into a level that's over their head. All right. He said, Dawid and the men that were with him. Go ahead.
How he entered into the house of Elohim and did eat the showbread, which was not lawful for him to eat.
Was not lawful for him to eat. Go ahead.
Neither for them which were with him, but.
Neither. None of them was supposed to be eating of it. Go ahead. Hold on, I got you. Go ahead.
But only for the priests?
But only for the priests.
Or have you not read in the law how that on Sabbath days the priests in the temple profane the Sabbath and are blameless?
Now, he done went somewhere. Now, he says the priests profane the Sabbath and are held blameless. Why?
Because they're working.
Because they're working. They're working. Go ahead, bro.
So David the name. Sorry, I don't want to call
Dawid. Well, not necessarily. Let me tell you what he lied when he got to the priest about him having been sent on a business. Now, the only business he was sent on is saving his life. Because
he was running.
He running for his life. But the king is trying to kill him. So he's not trying to put it out there. And if we kept reading that, you'll see why. This is why I said it ain't just if somebody lied, but why you lie. Guess what happened? That same man, that priest that gave him that one man who was there told Saul, and Saul went and killed him. Saul went and killed that priest, saying that he was helping David. Now you understand why he like, I don't want you in none of this. You don't need to know nothing. So that you have plausible deniability. You ain't helping me. You don't know nothing. You just saw me hungry. And I asked you,
for some food.
Right. Oh, and that little weapon that was there, that was mine anyway. See, I took that weapon from Goliath. That's mine. Saul killed the priest. Saul killed the priest because of that. So there's one thing when somebody lied for their own gain. That gain he lying for ain't his.
Protecting the priest.
You got it. And it still didn't work. He said one thing to Saul, and Saul went in there, didn't care nothing about killing the priest. Didn't care nothing, and that's why Yahweh cut him off. He didn't care nothing about that. Go ahead, bro.
So that's why he said blameless.
Well, no. The blameless part is something else. We're not supposed to work on the Sabbath. We're not supposed to do anything and make money. What the priest do? He working, and he collecting offerings. So then he working and getting paid. He is working on the Sabbath and is held blameless. So here's the underlining thing that's happening. He mentions that talking about his disciples. What was he saying? Disciples of priests.
Yeah.
They didn't even get what was going on. People like, I'm a pastor, I'm a this, I'm a that. Wait a minute. No. He said they priests. See, we want to be on the Gentile thing because, it gives us, we get power when we say, I'm a bishop. And people don't even say bishop. When they say it, with a little authority. Bishop. They can't even say bishop in a calm manner because you saying you somebody. When you take on that title. He's saying the priests profane the Sabbath and are blameless. They were picking corn. He said, do you not understand who they are? You don't understand what they do? They working on the Sabbath because they priests. You don't muzzle the ox who treads out the corn. If he walked through the corn, he got the right to eat it. And it said, do you think he said this? Matter of fact, I think that's what he about to say. Do you think he said this for the ox? No, he's saying this for men. Where we end up at? Verse 3. Go to 4.
4. How he entered into the house of Elohim and did eat the showbread, which was not lawful for him to eat, neither for them which were with him, but only for the priests? Or have you not read in the law how that on the Sabbath days the priests in the temple profane the Sabbath and are blameless? But I say unto you that in this place is one greater than the temple. Mm-hmm. But if you had known what this means, I will have mercy and not sacrifice, you would not have condemned the guiltless. For the Son of Man is Adonai even of the Sabbath day.
Right. He's not bound by the Sabbath. He's a master. He's also a master of the Sabbath day. See, they didn't understand exactly who it was they were accusing. I got another question here. It says in 1 Corinthians 6, Paul or Saul talks about going to law with one another outside of the church. And this should not be done. Instead, judge among yourself. It says, what if a person is outside of the word? Or somebody you work for who intends to impose on your right? Can this be a spiritual sacrifice if you do nothing? So let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 6 first. Chapter 6. And we're going to start it at verse 1.
Verse 1. Dare any of you, having a matter against another, go to law before the unjust and not before the saints?
All right. Now, the whole thing that it's talking about, dare any of you who believe in the same thing. Mm-hmm. If you are learning together, you are being taught in the word. Okay? So if you are being taught in the word, how is it that you're not able to work out your situations without going down to the courthouse?
1 Corinthians, what again?
6. 1 Corinthians chapter 6. It says, dare any of you having a matter against another. That means we believe that somebody has wronged us. We got something against them. And we go to law before the unjust and not before the saints. So Yahweh expected his house to be not just a house of worship. He expected it to be the courthouse too. Mm-hmm. You understand? That's how things were. The same people who orchestrated our worship practice was also the same people who orchestrated our judicial system.
Exactly.
So that's exactly what he expects. Now, why you going down? Why you at the Garrett County filling out papers?
Because this is universal law.
What you doing? What you doing? Yep, and his name is. And then I told him shalom, and he said shagiddon, and I told him, because they make you write out the whole story. You got to write out all of these things. Hey, Yahweh, wait a minute. You mean tell me there's none of you that can judge between one another? Go ahead.
Because this is universal law. These are Yahweh's ways. And even though, we say the world has their law based upon this, but you can tell how they
start the law based on this, and then it take
a sharp left turn. Exactly.
You can watch it turn. Go ahead.
Verse 2. Do you not know that the saints shall judge the world? And if the world shall be judged by you, are you unworthy to judge the smallest matters? Know you not that we shall judge angels? And how much more things that pertain to this life? If then you have judgments of things pertaining to this life, set them to judge who are least esteemed in the church. I speak to your shame. Is it so that there is not a wise man among you? No, not one that shall be able to judge between his brethren?
Is there not a wise man among you that cannot judge between a man and his brother? But you want to go down to the folks and put them on notice. Go ahead.
Verse 6. But brother goeth to law with brother, and that before the unbeliever.
All right, now this is where the things goes into the next part of that question. You talking about brother go to law with brother. Now understand, if brother go to law with brother, these are people who are taught in the same thing. You can't mix apples and oranges. You can't come and you in this word and then you go with a heathen and you tell the heathen, look, I am my brother's keeper. They be like, well, I'm about to keep you all right. You can believe that? This heathen. They gonna kill you dead. You know what I'm saying? And leave your decaying corpse sitting outside. All right? No. You got to understand who you're dealing with now. All right? Don't be no fool. Brother go to law with brother. They are supposed to be on one accord. It ain't got nothing to do with them heathen. Mm-hmm. It says, be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. If you're gonna be as wise as one of them serpents, you got to know, oh, no. I'm very careful how I'm gonna deal with this one right here. So don't let your guard down. And see, this is where people will turn around and use your word against you. They know that you don't want to lie, so they'll turn around and promise me you're gonna do something for me. Right. Well, what is it? Just promise me you're gonna do it. I'm not promising you nothing. I don't know what it is.
Exactly.
And once you say, yeah, I'll do it, then they come out with it, and it's something that you like, oh, no, man. Then remember that. You promised. So what are they doing? They're using your culture against you. See? Or they'll give you something, and they'll say, this is what it is. And you agree to do it. Then in the middle of the process, they throw in the other little curveball that they didn't tell you. Now they say, wait, hold on there. Wait a minute. This is what truth-telling Hebrews do. You told me you was going to be down with me. You told me we was going to do this thing all day if it took all day. You know what I'm saying? Of course, I've got to tell you, your ex-girlfriend was going to be here. All right, now, that, that's neither here nor there. So we going to do this or not? Not. Because if you even listen to their law says that whenever you get into a agreement and you withheld information, it makes the agreement fraudulent because you withheld information and allowed this covenant or this agreement to be made knowing that it was being made under false pretenses. Mm-hmm. That then makes the agreement null and void. Go ahead, bro.
So I'm okay for backing out on some of those agreements that I made. Now I'm asking. So like, if I said I'm gonna do X, Y, Z, but nah, bro. Well, I gotta. It's a holy day. I can't do that. But man, you represent. You talking about you believing, you reading the Bible. Now you lying and you flaking out. So I'm okay.
Let me tell you something, man. Once we come into a total different situation of understanding, I don't care what I promised you back in. That what that other dude.
Yes, sir.
That other dude promised a whole lot of people a whole lot of stuff before we got in that water. That what that dude. Mm-hmm. I let that dude die in the water. Mm-hmm. I don't want to hear nothing about none of that. Well, man, you in the group with us. No, I used to be in a group. Now I just come see y'all every now and then. You know what I'm saying? Now, we ain't in a group no more. Who is my mother and my brother? My mother and my brother are the people that sharing this word with me. Yes, sir. I got all kind of people who related to me that really ain't related to me. They don't really care for my company, and I'm really cool. I'm all right. I entertain myself. Ain't nobody in here. I'll laugh. They be like, man, suck. Who you talking to? Man, ain't nobody in there but him. He is having a good time by himself. I don't need nobody. I'll be all right. If this word drives you away, I want to make sure you got plenty of gas. Mm-hmm. I want to make sure you got plenty of gas. I hope you got a hybrid. I hope it run. I hope it run on electricity and fuel. Matter of fact, I hope you get some corn. I hope it run off canola. It's real cheap. Just keep on going. You know what I'm saying? Don't look back, Jack. Just keep on going. Go ahead.
You know, that's one of the things coming into this truth. You find that Lucifer will try to, and he'll try anything, is to remind you of who you are.
Oh
and
my
what
goodness!
You used to do.
Oh yeah.
My goodness.
Oh, he good at that.
Ooh.
Oh, you wasn't saying all that back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Tell him, baby girl. Tell him. You remember him, don't you? Don't you remember him? Now, he done got all holy. Yeah, he was holy back in the day. Yeah. They can't wait to remind you. Stop eating pork. Half of your family gonna tell you, well, you grew up on pork. You wasn't saying all that when you was eating it. I used to make them pork chops smothered and covered and everything. It was covered so much you couldn't even see the chop. Oh, you couldn't even see. You just know it was pork under there. You couldn't even. And then all of a sudden, now you all holy now. Yeah. How much we change. Good speech, but I still ain't eating it.
Thank you. And that is
good speech. Did you practice that? Go ahead.
Verse 7. Now, therefore, there is utterly a fault among you because you go to law with one another. Why do you not rather take wrong?
All right. Now, understand that when it says taking wrong, for the brother to ask this question, it's, talking about, okay, you have the opportunity to suffer wrong. But this doesn't mean that you turn around and let yourself get walked all over for people to misuse you, and just saying, okay, well, that is what it is. Hold on. What if part of that thing that's coming to you is also part of what you offer unto your Elohim? Then that means you might be giving him money away. Wait a minute now. Wait a minute. Hold on now. Wait a minute. The dude that dug the hole and put the 1 talent in the earth, it didn't fare well for him. So, do we take wrong for our own stuff? Who are we taking this wrong for? So, is it a good thing? Sometimes you just suffer that wrong. And you understand that there's certain situations where Yahweh will let somebody do something to you and he'll pay you and give you something else on the back end that you didn't even deserve. That was him giving that back to you in another way. But we have to make sure that we don't allow people to use our word against us. You have to understand what did they say? We will not find any fault against Daniel unless we find a fault concerning the law of his Elohim. So what did that mean? His adversaries then went and studied what they knew about his culture. All right, we know how we're going to get him. See, they said, oh, he's a perfect man. All right. But I know how we can get the perfect man. How we going to get him? We're going to get him through the law of his God. We going to cause a controversy naturally between him and his God. See, we going to cause a law, and people always say, you obey the laws of the land. So they made the law of the land go against the law of his God. He said, absolutely, I'm not doing it. I'm not finna stop, offering up supplications unto my Elohim for something that you have conjured up. They knew that. They knew that they can get him. So you got to understand something. The adversary and his minions are doing the same thing to you. Mm-hmm. They're doing the same thing to you. Seeing, okay, your brother want to tell the truth all of a sudden now. You know what I'm saying? I know how to get him. I know how to get him. And they planning some things. But let me tell you something about Yahweh. Yahweh will make you spoil somebody's plan without even revealing the plan to you. You won't even know that you spoiling their plan. You'll find out next month. You mean they were doing what? Dude, to you. You was the person that they was finna come in and do this to. He made you spoil the plan. He didn't even tell you what the plan was. That's how Yahweh operate. Go ahead. I'll finish that up.
Verse 8. Nay, you do wrong and defraud, and that your brethren. Know you not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of Elohim? Be not deceived, neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor effeminate, nor abusers of themselves with mankind, nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor extortioners shall inherit the kingdom of Elohim. And such were some of you. But you are washed.
Right, that was that old dude. Go ahead.
But you are sanctified. But you are justified in the name of the Adonai Yeshua and by the Spirit of our Elohim.
Now, this brings me to something who that the Ugandan minister passed a bill imposing the death penalty for homosexuality. So, you know, you look at some of them, and when you look at some of their things, they are just really upset with America because they believe that America is forcing their ways down other countries' throat, trying to make them be okay with certain things that they are not okay with in their country. Now, you know, this kind of stuff gives me some real mixed views, because we understand what the word say. We understand that, you know, hey, they gave harsh punishment. In this day and time, though, how you gonna implement death penalty for homosexuality? Like, what is going to be the standard? Like, can they just look gay? Do they walk gay? Do they talk gay? What's gay? You know what I'm saying? Did it look like if two brothers ain't seen each other in a long time and there go my brother, and they hug? Wait a minute. Are those brothers about to get the death penalty? What happens? And you have to consider now. We go places and not consider the political climate and how laws change. Now, the Jewish allowed the Christians to come over and build and put all this money in Israel. And now they're about to make all of it, everything that they built illegal. Just like that. So you have to think things that people are okay with in one country, you go to that country and you may never come back home. We need to be considering that when we decide that we're going to travel abroad. You might want to spend a little time looking at their culture. You know, I heard something that a sister was saying about, they was telling me when you went to Jordan, how they used the left hand to wipe or something like that. And if you in the restaurant, you might be left-handed. But they consider that's the other hand. That's the backhand. This backhand Rob right here. This backhand Rob. You only use this hand. But so when you eating and you do something, see, you don't know that's their culture. Ethiopia. So you eating with the left hand because you left-handed, and these people looking at you like you are nasty, you're disgusting. Why you eat with that hand? Because I'm left-handed. So, but that's their culture. So when you go places, it would behoove you to sit for a little bit and watch and see what's going on before you get yourself in some serious trouble. You have a whole lot of people here talking about, you know, oh, I don't believe in head covering and all that. Let me tell you something. I seen one of them people when the Taliban got near him, and apparently she had a sexy nose or something. It was just too much of the nose was showing. He pulled out that AK-47. Oh, that hijab went up quick, Jack. She was feeling herself. She kept letting that hijab get lower and lower. When that AK-47 popped out, oh, you ain't seen nothing but the eyes after that. You have to understand where you're going and the culture of that place. And you may break that culture and you may not be able to leave that place. So when we talk about going to law one another, in this land, everybody sue everybody. It's just the way of the United States. You just sue. You just sue whatever happens. You just come somewhere, you fall, and you sue. You just sue. This is what everybody does. So we have to understand some things. Let's go to Matthew chapter 18. So the one thing that was talking about, why go you to the law with your brother? Understand, we've already been given instructions on this and how to go about it. Matthew chapter 18, and let's start at verse 15.
Verse 15. If your brother shall trespass against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone.
All right. So here is at the beginning of our judicial recourse for wrongdoing. You go to the individual first. So when you go to this thing where it says go to law one to another, to the heathen, understand there was a process that was supposed to be followed before we even got to that point. The first thing was we were supposed to go to that individual. Go ahead.
If he shall hear you, you have gained your brother. But if he will not hear you, then take with you one or two more, that in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may be established.
All right, so then it's step 2 in our judicial practice. See, we just think the Bible is a bunch of a book of stories. There's judicial practice that we're supposed to be following here. See, we just get mad and we think that we're supposed to handle it however we want to handle it because, I'm mad, I'm hot. So I'm going to say whatever I got to say and I'm going to do whatever I got to, but we are given instructions, and this writing is in red. This is the Mashiach talking. He is giving us examples on how to deal with things. So you go to the brother first. If that don't work, you take 2 or 3 witnesses. Go ahead. Verse 17.
And if he shall neglect to hear them, tell it unto the church.
So then when he says go to law, you've gone all the way out there. What he said, is there not anybody among you who is able to judge between his brother? What do you think Yahshua said? So he didn't make that up. He's getting his statement from what Yahshua said. If there's a problem, y'all wasn't able to work it out, bring it to the church. We're supposed to be able to have judicial situations right here in the church. All right, brother. I tried to talk to this brother to explain to him. I brought to, he still couldn't hear me. All right, I need to talk to the church. Let's get the brothers down or the sisters down, depending on what the issue is. Let's put it out there and let's see what comes of it. Go ahead.
But if he neglect to hear the church, let him be unto thee as an heathen man and a publican.
Now, we like to get to, as soon as somebody do us wrong, they're a heathen and a publican. But it's steps that's supposed to be taken before that person become a heathen and a publican to you in your heart and your mind. That means you have gone through all of those steps. Now, if we don't do that, and we already put that person as a heathen and a publican, then you violating Yahweh's law. You violating the instruction of your master. Yahshua gave you instructions on how to deal with conflict. You jumped already to the heathen and the publican. You decided that you know better than him. But see, it's not about somebody actually listening and always repenting. Sometimes it's about judgment being just. And if you are going and you already said they're heathen and the publican, but you didn't give them an opportunity to repent, your judgment is not just. They should have had an opportunity to repent and right that wrong. And according to this book, if they right the wrong, they can't just give back what they took. You got to add the 5th part thereof. So you can't just take something from a man, use it, then they say something to you, then you're going to give back the little used stuff. No, you got to get him better than what you took. I can't wreck your bad man wagon, and I'm gonna give you this little Pinto, this old Pinto I had back in the back. I got a little something, but I done wreck your bad man wagon. No, man, you got to bring me something better than that. You gonna bring me a Ford Festiva, and I gave you a BMW? Here, go, brother, take that Festiva. No, brother. Now, if you wrecked a Festiva and you gave me a Festiva, then we even. But that bad man wagon, it hug in the corners. You gotta give me something that I ain't got to press on the brake when I get to the corner. You can't just give me any old thing. Then you ain't added the fifth part thereof. You ain't even gave me what was taken. So, go ahead.
Verse 18, verily I say unto you, whatsoever you shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever you shall loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Again I say unto you, that if two of you shall agree on earth as touching anything that they ask, it shall be done for them of my Father which is in heaven. For where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them.
Now understand, they are doing this for righteous judgment. It says go get 2 or 3. People hear this 2 or 3, and now they done made themselves a church.
Right. They disconnected from the content.
The whole context is lost. They start from the top. He is talking about if your brother sins against you, then take 2 or 3. At the bottom, he then goes, well, 2 or 3 are gathered in my name. That he talking about judgment. Now we done made this. See, that's why I got the Church of Pookie Johnson in my living room, because I invited 2 other brothers that made it legal. You see that? They made it legal. Now, they ain't sanctified. They haven't gone through any of those things, but they believe it's legal because 2 or 3 people have gathered. So they think that all you got to do to bypass Yahweh is call 2 people. Now that you can't get no more stranger than that to believe that you're gonna bypass him because you called a few other people.
You know, and then unfortunately in the Christian church, they do this religiously, because when it comes down to judgment, I mean, it's not that they can't judge, but they don't follow anything. I mean, well, how can they judge anything?
You're right.
They don't follow a thing.
Right. And if you're going to just deal with things and you're judging it by how you think, feel, and believe, who actually wins that argument? Because everybody feels some type of way about their issue. You know, you're not going to outfeel somebody when they feel a certain way. So righteous judgment cannot be about who feels the most wronged. It has to be about what actually is wrong, not about who feels wronged. There are certain situations where we feel wronged, and nothing was done wrong to us. We were just in our feelings about it. We didn't like certain things. Yeah, but that don't make it illegal because you didn't like it. That's what just judgment is all about. Let's go to Acts chapter 18. And we're going to start at verse 12. So Acts chapter 18, and we're going to start at verse 12.
Verse 12. And when Gallio was the deputy of Achaia, the Jews made insurrection with one accord against Paul, and brought him to the judgment seat.
All right, so they're bringing him to the judgment seat. Go ahead.
Saying, this fellow persuadeth men to worship Elohim contrary to the law.
Right. So they're going to bring him to the Gentiles to deal with Jewish law. Now watch how they deal with it. Go ahead.
And when Paul was now about to open his mouth, Gallio said unto the Jews, if it were a matter of wrong or wicked lewdness, O ye Jews, reason would that I should bear with you. But if it be a question of words and names.
Words and names, you know, all the stuff that we still arguing about. No, his name is Yahuwah. No, brother, his name is Yahweh, brother. Go ahead.
But if it be a question of words and names and of your law.
Of your law.
Look ye to it.
Look you to it. The Gentiles say, I'm not dealing with that right there. So then, he says on the flip side, why are you going to the Gentiles dealing with our stuff? The Gentiles say, I'm not dealing with y'all. If it be of words and names and all that, I will not be the judge of such matters. Go ahead.
For I will be no judge of such matters. And he drave them from the judgment seat.
He kicked them out the court.
Then all the Greeks took Sosthenes, the chief ruler of the synagogue, and beat him before the judgment seat. And Gallio cared for none of those things.
Right. I'm not even dealing with any of it. It has nothing to do with us. So we do it because we respect the authority of the Gentile rulership. That's why we can't go and work it out amongst one another. We have the opportunity to work it out amongst one another, but we just respect their authority more. That's why we want to go to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A brother could say, all right, man, it was done wrong. I'll take care of it. No. I want the man to tell you to take care of it because, we respect that. And because we're not in any culture anymore, hey, you can understand that nowadays.
Exactly.
These people were walking in the same culture and still deciding that they were going to show certain amounts of favoritism, and I would rather them deal with it. Let's go to 1 Peter chapter 2. First Peter, right after James, chapter 2, and I want to go to verse 20. I'll tell you what, jump that back up to verse 19.
Verse 19. For this is thankworthy, if a man for conscience toward Elohim endure grief, suffering wrongfully.
Right. Now, anytime you make that decision, it's a spiritual sacrifice. All right. But as all sacrifices should be, it should be done not grudgingly. So if you're going to do it with a spirit that is not welcoming, then you don't need to do it at all. You don't need to say, I suffer patiently. Patient suffering is you not constantly biting back. Even though you didn't swing back, you still bit back. Go ahead.
Verse 20. For what glory is it if, when you be buffeted for your faults, you shall take it patiently? But if, when you do well and suffer for it, you take it patiently, this is acceptable with Elohim.
This is acceptable with Elohim because now you have truly offered up a spiritual sacrifice by having, this done unto you, and you take it patiently. Remember what it says about Yahshua. It says when he was reviled, he reviled not again. All right. So that's something different. It says, for what glory is it when you be buffeted for your faults? Here is where it gets interesting. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you're going through something, right? And you swear you're right, but you still being buffeted for your faults. This is where it gets interesting because you say, I'm taking it patiently. I'm storing up treasures in heaven. No, you actually even. You did flat line because we done forgot. You forgot you did that to somebody 3 years ago.
Yeah.
See, you done forgot that. But see, now that got to come back on you. See, that's what you did 3. So that's why you ain't got to go looking for somebody and say, 3 years ago, I did you wrong before I was in the word. Don't you worry. Yahweh gonna bring judgment to a house near you. You don't have to go look for nothing because this time he's gonna give you an opportunity to be working out your salvation though while you're dealing with it. See, that's the beautiful thing. You may feel like something bad is happening, but you're storing up treasures at the same time.
Absolutely.
But you got to go through those things. So this is where it gets interesting that you don't even know that you're being buffeted for your faults. You actually think that, I am suffering this patiently. No, you're suffering, but it's a little bit more to that because the hardest thing to see is us. It's real easy to see that way because that's where eyes are. Eyes are pointed that way. Eyes don't point this way. Okay? So, you are never meant to get a clear view of yourself. And we all believe, I know what kind of man I am. I know what kind of woman I am. You were never meant to get a clear view of yourself. If he did, your eyes would have turned the other way. They don't turn that way. So what does that mean? That means we have to depend on one another. See,
Yeah.
I have to be able to be honest with you about how I see you and how you're being perceived. And then I have to also be able to take and believe that you're being honest with me when you tell me how I am being perceived. Because I can't see me the way I can see you. So I help you and you help me. Mm-hmm. That's the way that is supposed to go down. One of those things that we read about the priesthood. I don't think I'm gonna have time to get to that. I want to go into this one thing, so we may get back to that. Okay. The question: can I wear a Star of David necklace, or is it disrespectful if the person is not Jewish by belief? Now, one of the things that we have to deal with now, once we put diamonds on something, it ain't idolatry no more. Because that's all we needed. It was some diamonds. It was like, I know it's an idol, but did you see the bling in the thing? Did you see the bling? So now, it turns into something else, and we have to, deal with. People have taken all of these things and made them into idols. And when you get into this book, some people say it's the Star of David, but when you read this book, he says, I know about, your idols, the star of your God, Remphan. Mm-hmm. Wait a minute, what? Mm-hmm. So when people say they got a Star of David, he said, no, that's the star of your God. That's a different God that you worship. Now remember now, the land was inhabited by a bunch of heathens that were brought over, and they merged their own worship practices with the culture of the Hebrews. Mm-hmm. So when you deal with this whole Star of David thing, my elder used to say, the Star of David is Yahshua.
It is.
What are you talking about? You can't wear no Star of David. How you gonna wear Yahshua? You put Yahshua in your neck? No, ain't no such thing. So when we take, those idols and believe that, we are representing something, he already said, don't make any images of something to represent me. And, this is what these things start to do with us. And this is also why I'm careful about using terms just because other people use them. You are validating those people, whether you know it or not. Every person who tries to prove that they're not anti-Semitic is approving something else. And I watched an interesting program. I don't know if you guys go by any of those history channels as we are getting close to Passover, because I didn't understand why was I seeing all of this. It was all this World War II stuff, history coming on, and it's coming on back to back. And they're going into all of these things that happened to the Jewish people in Germany. And it's all of these, the way that Hitler put out movies of propaganda and made the people feel like the people of Germany, the Jewish, like they were less people. And they in turn saw the power from his deeds. This is how Hollywood was born, that they were trying to go against what was being done. But then deeper in this documentary, it's going into all of the things that were happening to them about restricting speech. Now you think about what the Jewish people are doing now. They're doing everything that they said was wrong. They're doing it to everybody else. Mm-hmm. Everything that they said happened to them, that with passing laws saying you can't speak out against them. Now, so now does my freedom of speech go away? Now, so if a Jewish man robs me, do I become anti-Semitic if I point out that the guy who robbed me was a Jew? Am I now anti-Semitic? According to the law, I just might be. I might be anti-Semitic because they have moved or are moving to put anti-Semitism as hate law. Mm-hmm. Hate law. Now check this out. Now, I read something that was extremely strange. It said the Jewish people have been the recipients of more hate crimes than anybody in America. It was insulting to hear.
It is insulting.
It is insulting. You know why? Because anything, now, they already claim that now. Imagine if you make anti-Semitism hate. That means now your freedom of speech is freedom of hate. So you can't even disagree with the guy who robbed you. Or now you're guilty of hate crimes. Now, why is it so high, so-called, against other people, even though we're suffering? None of our stuff will be called hate. A man can put his knee on another person's neck on camera and kill him in broad daylight.
And it's not hate.
And it still ain't hate. But if you paint a swastika on a wall, you are now guilty of hate mongering or hate something. And I can't think of any deeper hate than choking somebody to death while they beg for air. There's nothing bigger than that. So they have made trivial things have been made as hate crimes, which carry a very stiff penalty. Okay? So everything that was happening, or that, according to this documentary, and it was a documentary for Jewish people, and all of the stuff that was happening to them, they are now inflicting that on other people in a different way. Because understand, Hollywood doesn't openly put out propaganda against people. It just shows people in the light that they want to show them in. Go ahead.
I was going to say, so if they hang a noose on a pole in front of your house, is
Right.
that not hate?
Right. But you can paint a swastika and it's hate. But we had situations where people have gone to work and they hung a noose right at their workplace. Those people wasn't fired. It wasn't a hate crime. But if they had put, a yarmulke up there and put it on the pole, all of them would be in prison by now. So it is how people can decide that they're going to, deal with certain things, and then other things they don't have to to deal with. So there's a reason why we have to go into this book and start dealing with things according to how it is written, because the adversary is truly rising up and making, speech to the point where you can't even say that. Like, there's certain places we couldn't even read this book. If he says certain things against, same-sex individuals or something like that, you can't say that in certain places. You say certain things in the wrong place, and you may be out of a job. You may be out of funding. There are people who were getting government grants. They turned around and said the wrong thing, and the government grant went away that day. This the atmosphere that we are living in. So it is definitely something that we have to do as we move forward. That we try to get as much as we can of Yahweh's law and the understanding in His culture, so that we can prepare ourselves for the things that are coming toward us. But that's all that we're going to do for tonight. We're going to rise and face the east and leave out with the prayer. Step out. And then step back in. All males, remove your head covering. And females always pray with their head covered. Abba Father, Most High Covenant Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov. Abba Father, we thank you. We thank you for giving us a place whereby we can gather together to read out of the legacy that you have left unto us. We thank you, Abba Father, for leaving this legacy unto us, because we walked away from it to the point that there were some points that our folks just found the book of Elohim. How is it that we walked understanding that we were Israel, but we found your book, which means that we were not walking in it at all? We acknowledge our sins before you, Abba Father, and we pray that you will forgive us. We pray, Father, that you would protect us, because our adversary, the devil, is gathering people, and he is preparing for war. And we pray, Abba Father, that you would keep a hedge of protection round about us, round about our homes, our natural homes, and about our spiritual house, where you have allowed for us to gather to keep your new moons, your Sabbaths, and your holy feast days. We pray, Abba Father, that you would give us good health and strength, that we may be able to gather together and do this once again. We ask these prayers not only for those that gather with us physically, but even those that gather by way of phones and by way of internet, those that gather out of a pure heart to serve you in truth and in spirit. In Yeshua HaMashiach's holy and divine name we pray. Amen and hallelujah.
Amen. Hallelujah.